So I wanted to open this very special episode with something a little bit different. Don't worry, we'll be back in game very soon with the complete Staff of Chaos and the twist at the end. But first, I want to draw your attention to a really important facet of Arena for world building and establishing the setting of Tamriel way back here at the beginning that only really exists in the manual, yet will be important for later games. So earlier in the series, I showed you guys how dynamic quests can be triggered by going to taverns, asking around, and seeing what the game churns up. Now, while the gameplay itself is pretty mediocre and not really worth showing, what the game does with those dynamic quests is sometimes has you cross paths with a faction. So we've already been crossing paths with one of the factions many times. That's the Mages Guild. And, you have the individual temples as well. The Temple of Seth we met in a recent episode, for example, actually goes forward in the lore. The Mages Guild is really the biggest of them. All the others just have very minor roles in this kind of ignorable content. But the manual has descriptions for them. And these factions, many of them, do go on to play big roles in the upcoming games. In fact, the next game we'll be moving to, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall, actually has a lot to do with one of these factions already. So let's run through them. Unlike in the later games where you can join many factions, that's not going to be happening here. They're just in the dynamic quests. They say first that throughout the world of Tamriel are various guilds, organizations that work towards their own ends. Yeah, they're known as guilds here rather than factions. You may encounter some of these people in your journeys. Not all are malevolent, not all are benign. They are people just like you with their own aims and goals. At times you may find yourself pitted against them, at others they may be your staunchest allies. It's important to remember these various guilds usually work for their own benefit. They can greatly aid those who help them, that's not really true, and can bring great pressure to bear upon those who oppose them. Here's a brief description of some. So first we have the Thieves Guild. The Thieves Guild works in and around the cities of Tamriel. They are known to organize and govern any who wish to work in a particular city. Those who pay their monthly tithe find certain perks when faced with the authorities, and those who do not find that the Thieves Guild can be a dangerous adversary. So what will happen sometimes is if you're being attacked by a random encounter or creature, you might get a little bit of flavor text that says, aha, this is someone who's been sent from the Thieves Guild, maybe I should have paid my tithe, maybe I shouldn't have crossed them, or whatever. Can't really interact with them any further, but fans of the series will know that later, these actually end up becoming huge, interesting quest lines and joinable factions. Next, you have the Mages Guild. We're very privy to them, but I'll read it anyway. The Mages Guild is the center of magical study for all those of spellcasting potential, and as we've seen, even those without, because they sell potions. They perform many services to those who have the money to pay, including selling potions, selling magical items, helping mages create spells, and selling spells for spellbooks. They are a powerful force in the world of Tamriel, often searching for lost artifacts or treasures. It is said by some that the Mages Guild have many secrets, including the location of some legendary places. And this is, of course, going to be a reference to the way that sometimes the artifact quests work. Then we have the Dark Brotherhood. So you've seen the whole way through the game here. I have not encountered anything to do with the Dark Brotherhood, and even if I had, it would be very minor stuff. But the Dark Brotherhood are a big thing for this franchise, and they were here in Arena through this manual text description. So, the Dark Brotherhood are loyal followers of Sithis, the god of death. Now, this again will be expanded on. For now, this is all we know. They are sworn to uphold the tenements of chaos. They are vicious foes to those who would follow the roads of law, often patrolling outer paths and byways for unwary travelers. It is said that the Brotherhood does not associate with any other group, contesting that even the necromancers are not true to the word of the Dark God. They instead work towards what they call a pure form of chaos. Few have faced them and escaped with their souls intact. Really cool description. Excited to learn more about them. And here I pulled up from the wiki just some examples of the things the game will throw at you. So here, this orc is one of the traditional emissaries of the Dark Brotherhood. Their orders are to kill you swiftly, it might say. Or crossing the Dark Brotherhood is sheer idiocy. And one look at the lizard man, and you know that that is exactly what you've done. The loyalty of the servants of the Dark Brotherhood is legendary. The encounter will never yield or grant mercy to foes. And there can be no doubt that the Dark Brotherhood sent this lich after you. The servants of the Dark Brotherhood are legion, right? That's kind of the way that the game works, and you do get a little bit more information, but not much. Then another really profound society was introduced back here, the Blades, a secret society comprised of the best warriors of the Empire. The Blades approach whomever they wish for membership. None know exactly what their ultimate goals are, for they have been seen on both sides of the law, sometimes helping those in need, other times attacking caravans or wealthy merchants. All that is known is that they are deadly in combat, trained by special sword masters to a point where their thought and reaction are one. Now the Blades really, as far as main storylines are concerned, for many of the games, play a huge role, particularly in the later releases for the main series. So you really want to remember this. And I guess what Bethesda did is they'd written this as a bit of background for Arena, and as early as the next game, they looked at this stuff they wrote and was here in the manual and really drew on all over. The Blades are going to become very big parts of this franchise. The Necromancers. The Necromancers are a guild that works in the shadows of life, stealing bodies for purposes known only to them. They deal and consort with the undead regularly, and are staunch foes of the Mages Guild. Now, this idea that there's the Necromancers versus the Mages Guild, as far as my experience with this franchise so far is concerned, and I'm excited to see how that changes as we go forward, I mostly remember this from the fourth game, Oblivion. It's kind of leaned into there. They are accomplished spellcasters, often questing for magical artifacts and other sources of knowledge. It is said that when facing the Necromancers, one need fear what comes after death more than death itself. You know, they might reanimate your body or whatever. So then we got two more, which are probably the most interesting ones to me. First, you've got the Warfrats, which is actually not anywhere else in any game that they've ever released except here in Arena. This one, among all of them, does not get expanded. So the Warfrats are a loosely organized group of cutthroats, thieves, and ruffians. Although they do not represent the best of what is out there, their sheer numbers make up for any deficiency in skill. The Thieves Guild will attack any members of the Warfrats it finds, considering them an infringement upon their turf. They prey upon the weak, elderly, or rich traveler, stealing from them anything of value. So this is like an alternate Thieves Guild that they had. You'll notice that they've got Mages Guild versus Necromancers. And maybe you've got Dark Brotherhood, I guess, but there's various rivalries that they're setting up here. It seems like these only exist to be a rivalry for the Thieves Guild, and Bethesda was never that inspired for them in the future. I might be wrong about this, but from what I can see online right now, it doesn't look like this ever gets taken anywhere else, and to me, that makes this kind of interesting. There you have it. And then you've got the Underking. The Underking is a mysterious figure, walking through myth and legend. Some say he is actually a very old and powerful lich. Others that he is an archmage whose very being has been somehow transformed by his use of magic. It is agreed, however, that he is a force to be reckoned with in the world of Tamriel, sending his undead soldiers on errands whose goals only he knows is privy to. It seems his forces find themselves opposed to the Necromancers, a fact that reassures many, for if they were to unite, all of Tamriel would suffer. Now, the Underking will be expanded greatly on in the next game and beyond. In fact, this hooks into a ton of stories where the game actually becomes quite complicated and interesting. So hold him in mind. We'll be talking about the Underking again before very long. But for this game, he's just kind of a mysterious figure in the background and probably the coolest sounding of the, the guild, so to speak, factions. Here we have. So yeah, this is a side of Arena, and I couldn't get through the game without talking to you guys about this. There you have it. Okay, so we return. A special moment. We have all 8 pieces of the Staff of Chaos. Let's admire them in our inventory here. Will it still say pieces, or will it just say we have the staff? Oh, that's a shame. So staff pieces 8. Really, it should just say we have the staff. What's kind of interesting as well is the way the game is coded. I think you can go up to 9 pieces. I guess we'll see as we go forwards. Now, I want to remind you guys, as the story's gone along, Jagar has definitely been, according to Rhea anyway, really concerned about us collecting this thing and doing what he can to stop us collecting it and goading us, and, in theory was sending more dangerous minions against us. And when we've built it and reassembled it here, it has, it sounded like it was all full of energy and stuff. Which is where things get a bit weird now, because when we rest... Oh, we can't rest. We're going to get a little bit of a twist. So, what's the situation? Well, we still have no potions, and I've got to escape, but the doors are open because we finished the riddle. So, let's invis, and I haven't, tested that any of this will work. Let's levitate. Let's remind ourselves exactly which direction the exit was. It was over here to the west. Now, hopefully this long corridor won't spawn a million mobs again. So we'll just run back out. Now, in theory, it shouldn't actually be too tricky to escape. Only because the middle floor is actually really short since it was a key floor. Okay, this isn't right. There was no lich before. Oh, god damn it. I was clicking there desperately to try and open the map, which obviously would have paused it and saved our life. But no. Arena has to be really fiddly with a horrendous sword cursor. All right, let's try that again. So, yeah, the second floor we should just be able to whiz through. The only floor I'm a little bit concerned about is actually the top floor. We won't have to fight the vampire in the crypt, so that's nice. But there's every chance that something else will attack me elsewhere. Wait, so levitation, invisibility. We go west. Let's open the map a bit earlier this time. Yeah, how did I end up at that lich before? Did I end up going north? Something tells me I was going north a second ago. Okay, so these guys are fighting me, but that's not a problem. We don't have a mark of light up, so let's re-trigger that. We can obviously go back up to 100% health when we get to the exit, so we don't have to worry too much on that one there. Do I want to do that or just make use of the invisibility? I think I just want to make use of the invisibility. So we go through these doors. Interestingly, none of them are locked, even though I never found the diamond key. I guess just clicking them from the other side means you're never prompted for the key. I guess that's how that works. Straight up to floor 1. And we'll try and rest, I don't know, maybe in the wilderness somewhere in Morrowind. Fire demon, so let's do resist fire while he shoots us in the back. And if we see anything else nasty, we can maybe resist shock. Now, I think that my levitation potion's going to run out in a second, so I really don't want to linger over any lava. No, it's still going. Okay, that's more resist fire, that's fine. So we want to just charge east, pretty much. So go through this door on the right, and then just charge east. If levitation does carry us through that trench room, that'll be really nice. Hidden door, but we're well aware that it's there. Ah, okay, we can't climb that anymore because we're levitating, which means we do need to rest for 1 hour to turn the levitation off. Did this guy get killed by the homunculus there? I think he died to friendly fire. That's pretty funny. Yeah, so this is one of those weird situations where levitate you'd expect to always stick you near the ceiling, but that is not true. It won't always stick you near the ceiling. So let's just try. I'm not going to push my luck here. I'm going to get a little bit of health. Turn off the levitate. Jump up. Well, we got to get the jump quite precise. As I mentioned in the last video, I did it quite elegantly, so you might not have realized the mechanic was there, but it was. And we'll do invis, levitate again. You guys might think this is a little bit cheesy, but hey, we're not pass walling, right? And this is only the exit. We've already beat the damn thing. It's so good that the homunculus don't attack us when we're invis. If they were, if they had true sight or whatever you want to call it, if they had the ability to detect invisible foes, I think the game would be a lot trickier in these sections. No need to refresh the mark of light for now, I think. Which exit was it? This one, maybe? Actually, I think it was the further door up, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, good. So we can actually get out. Then we'll be able to rest. And the Eternal Champion will conclude his quest, right, guys? Okay. Wait, what? Was this an invisible door? It was. Another hidden door right here. I don't remember going through that last time, like, at all. There it is. There's the way out. So that's Dagoth complete. I will give you a little bit of other trivia that's kind of funny, I think. Before I started doing this gameplay series with you guys, I glossed ahead to see like where the story would generally be taking us. Well, no, not before this gameplay series, like ages ago, before my very first arena playthrough, which I was planning to do for you guys like in 2017, but never did. And anyway, I glossed ahead and I saw that the game ended at Dagoth, which really confused me because up until I started playing arena, I always knew Dagoth as a character. And just in case you guys are in the same boat, it's both. It's this location and a character. The character is not introduced, so that we won't learn about that stuff until later. So don't worry, and no, you're not confused. It's both, which is confusing, I grant, but it's fine. Okay, so let's go somewhere new this time. Let's go to Necrom and see what they say about this easternmost region in the whole game. It took 24 days to get here. Necrom is known for two things: the ferocity of their guards and the quality of their arms. Now, that sounds very generic. That doesn't mention the fire cone or anything, but hey. All right, we'll go out into the wilderness. Very snowy.
I congratulate you on your success. Have you discovered, however, what I have known all along? The star has drained all magical potential. I did it myself before scattering the pieces across the realm. It is a useless stick, good for turning butter or rowing a boat, but not for saving the Emperor. Come find me
Right, okay, and who does he send at us this last time? What's the last Jaeger ambush? Let's trigger the Mark of Light. I'm going to break this thing. I've been using it so much. The last ambush bugged. The last ambush didn't even do anything. That's hilarious. Also, Morrowind in the winter where there's full snow just doesn't feel right somehow. That's pretty funny. So, yeah, the staff is meaningless. Doesn't work. Doesn't do anything. Well, sorta. He's kind of tricking us, as Rhea will also send us a message now, and we kind of understand that it was worth getting the staff. So, with Jaeger messaging us there, we could, in theory now, be intelligent enough. He said, "Can't my legions await?" We know that he's in Cyrodiil, the Imperial province. We know that he's at the palace, which is the only location here and is the last place in the game we haven't really done anything. So we could totally be tipped off to go here. And we know that he's there because he's pretending to be the Emperor, and maybe we can kill him and then we'll be okay, right? So he like goads us, and that could send us there. And that is your only way to decide to go to the Imperial City, if you, as a human being, have the initiative to try that out. The thing is, that's only in the latest versions of the game. I'm on post 1.06, I think it is, which actually has a bug. Now, I alluded to this in the last episode. There is a bug in these versions of the game, the most recent up-to-date ones, which means that the final Rhea message... Remember, we always sleep once for Jaeger, sleep again for Rhea. Well, Rhea should talk to us, but she doesn't in this version of the game. And it's actually a huge message she's supposed to be sending us, but she doesn't. I guess the reason it doesn't appear, maybe, I think that is 106 when they did the CD versions. You remember early on I pointed out that there was no voice acting on the floppy disk version of the game, where this bug wasn't there. Then with the CD version came voice acting. I wonder if this was too much VA, too much memory, something like that, so they just cut out of the game and it's not actually a bug. I wonder. Maybe it was a hotfix that broke it, I'm not too sure. But so we're actually going to have to go to the wiki to get the real final piece of information that really should be sending us to the Imperial City outside of our own initiative. Because no matter how much I rest here, and I've actually cut a little bit of the video out here where I did a lot of resting. If we camp, let's say we want to camp for 24 hours. No, there are enemies nearby. But trust me, no matter how long we rest here, Rhea will not speak to us. So let's head over to the wiki and see what it says. I had expected that with all 8 pieces together, the Staff of Chaos would activate and free the Emperor. None of this has occurred, and I finally know why. Held by Tharn is a gem of the rarest qualities. Which is funny because the head of the staff looked like it had a gem on it. Legend has it that it is a star. Oh, we're being attacked in-game in the city while I'm alt-tabbed to show you guys this, believe it or not. Oh my god, it's an ice golem as well at that. Alright, well, let's pause the game and go back to the wiki here. Legend has it that a star fallen from the sky, for it glows with an inner flame. This is the Jewel of Fire, and the crucible of Tharn's life force. It is also the thing in which Tharn has suffused all the energy of the staff. If you can touch the staff to the jewel, the release of that combined energy may be enough to destroy the Staff of Chaos and open the gate between worlds. If you're successful, Tharn will no doubt be destroyed as well. There is only one way to get to this jewel. You must make your way into the Imperial Palace and find wherever Tharn has hidden it. Be warned, once inside, Tharn will throw the full might of the palace guards and those creatures made to resemble the Imperial Guard against you. So here, we're going to be fighting creatures that are like imposter guards. The idea is in the later games they'll be described as Daedra, but for now the idea of Daedra is not established, so it doesn't appear here in the game. They are but puppets of Tharn's machinations. Have mercy on them, for they know not what they serve. With Tharn, however, such care need not be taken. If you are successful, a dimensional door should open, freeing the Emperor. With the jewel drained of energy, Tharn should also perish. There is a problem, however, with this course of action. Tharn, in his fear, has made the Imperial Palace inaccessible. If you have been there already, you know the guards are under orders to turn all who approach back. I think I can circumvent this with a spell of altering, but it will mean the last of the energy holding me in this form. I will gladly sacrifice myself, however, so that Tharn can pay for his betrayal. The spell I cast will alter others' perceptions of your appearance. The guards posted outside the Imperial Palace should be fooled and allow you entry. I only hope it will be enough. You have done more than a hero could be asked. This is the final step of a long journey. Take heart and go forward with my blessings. I thank you in the Emperor's name. So, I mean, that is just a bomb of information. In my opinion, really badly, paced and ill-written. And I can imagine why they wouldn't voice act that, or why it would look really clunky in the cutscenes, because she only gets like 2/3 of a sentence before it has to scroll, and she has an awkward pause. It would just be crazy, right? It would go on and on and on and on. I speak much faster than Rio, and even there in the video it felt like it was going on a little bit. But there you go, that is really the crux of what we're doing. There's this jewel, the Jewel of Fire, and we just need to touch the staff to it and everything will be solved. So that means one final dungeon. That is the dungeon in the Imperial Province of Cyrodiil. And a return to a town that we did go to earlier in the series. Well, not a town, you know, the capital of the Empire, the Imperial City. And we'll see what we've got. So, let's run on in. Hopefully I can stock up on some supplies and things here. It's a kind of a special, different town. You enter the Imperial City, the heart of Tamriel, and the seat of power for His Majesty, the Emperor Uriel Septim the 7th. But of course, it's not really Uriel Septim in there. It's Jagar Tharn. And, well, we're being attacked by dangerous stuff too. And I don't have Hill True. Oh my god. Alright guys, let's see how it goes. Before we jump to the palace, I thought it would be worthwhile seeing me explore the city a little bit. Now, I'm leaving this in the video because, in all honesty, and I'm looking for a shop, wondering if we can get that better shield. This guy says his name is Grograf, and he has calluses on his hands. So, the reason I'm doing this is the majority of the gameplay that I've been enjoying in Arena, that you guys have seen nothing of, is running around the towns. I briefly mentioned it a while ago now, but you get some really cool configurations of like bushes leading into the Mage's Guild, or pillars arching, you know, boulevards filled with countless equipment shops all together. I really think it's quite smart. So just a bit more city gameplay before we bring things to a close here. And of course, this is the Imperial City, so one of the best places to check it out. You let a spray of snow and wind into the shop, but it's very neat and clean on the inside. Man, recording in this way in post makes me realize I read way faster than I actually speak. I guess that's true for everyone. So this guy actually does sell a shield. He sells two. A silver one, which we already have, and a dwarven one. Dwarven is actually a tier up, so we will get a little bit more defense from this. And the benefit here too is it's of levitation, which means that if there's any need for levitation in this final dungeon of the game, we can do it without drinking any more potions. I still have the elven boots of levitation, which I suppose I could have sold. I don't really plan on wearing them anymore. It didn't really occur to me. The main job right now, of course, is to get more potions of Heal True. And, well, this final dungeon is going to have a ton of liches in it. So, considering that I drank, what was it, maybe 13 to 15 potions of Heal True against the lich yesterday, I'm thinking I'm going to want a lot here. And also considering we really don't have much else to spend money on, I'm thinking of just digging through the next, what have I got, 13,000 gold, later known as Septims. Just all on Heal True if I can, and maybe some other flashy little potions if we see them. So yeah, the Imperial Province, we did obviously visit very briefly before. I think I gave you this trivia. If not, I'll give it again. The Imperial race, you know, which is basically super generic Empire white guy race that you can play, isn't actually in Arena. You can play as Bretons, and you can play as Nords, and you can play as Redguards. There are different variations on the typical race of man, but the Imperial isn't here. This whole province really is very empty. I've never really seen a great reason for why it's so empty either. I've read a lot of behind the scenes about the development of this game that I'll be sharing with you very soon. And none of it really talks about why this place was so devoid. You know, it's literally just the palace. There's no peripheral towns. There's no little dungeons that you can find. It really is mostly just used for artifact quests, as I showed before, great hub for those, and this final mission of the game, where they do go a little bit above and beyond. You're going to see there's a bonus cutscene we'll get when we actually enter the palace. Finding the Mage's Guild turned out to be a bit annoying, but like here, look at this. Why is that tile of this building, which I'm pretty sure is just a temple, why was that just a one big grey square locked on the wall there? You know, that's like an example of one of those oddities, one of those strange things you find when you spend a lot of time in these places. Particularly, I wanted to find some more interesting NPCs for you, because there are a few varieties we didn't see throughout the series. And I mentioned the blades at the start of today's video. One defining thing about the blades in this game is that they all have a scar over their eye. That's not really so much of a thing later. Maybe we'll find an Easter egg or a little subtle reference to it somewhere. But in Arena, whenever you interact with a member of the Blades, they've all been cut in the same way. Which I guess maybe Bethesda eventually thought was a bit stupid, because, like, okay, the idea, I guess, is that it's showing their scarred warriors. but they all have the scar in the exact same place. So they dropped it, but I actually think they could have kept a hold of it and reworked it into a story where it's like your initiation as a blade involves some kind of ceremonial ritual where they slice near your eye or something. The white dust in the Mage's Guild is not as deep as the snow outside, but it's so omnipresent that the arcane relics within seem covered in a thin shroud. It's almost a soundless chamber with only an occasional sigh from the pot of boiling liquid in the fire. Slowly warmth creeps back into your chilled body. So, unfortunately, yeah, it's winter as we're here. I think it took Tarlin about 3 years to complete this whole adventure, which is quite nice, and actually way, way, way lower of a time scale than what most people will experience in Arena. Because remember, I'm playing a ranger, which is half the time it takes for me to travel in terms of days. And I've been very guided. I've been very focused. I haven't really done many of the dynamic quests off on the side and stuff. So we've, had that laser focus. You could easily spend decades. The Eternal Champion could spend a long time here. You could spend so much time that the year eventually becomes the year that the later games are saying. Again, I said that right at the start, but I think that's kind of funny, and it's nice to see what our eventual time has been. So they didn't really sell any good magic items here. There was the Ring of Sanctuary you saw, and in fact there's a lot of spell names and stuff I'm going to divulge to you tomorrow, but for now we'll just pick up our potions. And I thought what would be fun is 75 heal true, since if you buy in large bulks, it feels like you can kind of barter people down a little bit easier. 75 heal true, a little bit more invis, a little bit more levitation I think I picked up, even if it's not necessary now that we have the enchantment. And the other thing is potions of strength, which we can clug just to fortify some attributes and improve ourselves a bit there. You'll notice that the really powerful disease cure is really not necessary to buy at any point. Maybe on some other class it's of a little bit more worth, but there are definitely some potions that we just haven't had much use for as the game's gone along. Well, despite the atypical winterscape here, get a good look at the Imperial City. We're going to get a nice, vision of the palace entrance flanked by these big pillars and a weird texture that shows something of a stronghold in the distance for the actual palace itself. But get a good look at this place because we're not going to see it for a really long time. Despite the fact that the next game is another big globetrotter where you can go nearly everywhere, the Imperial City is not in Daggerfall. It's not in the second game, and it's not in the third game either. It's going to be a long time until the fourth game that we get to return and see it in its true glory. But yeah, look at the stronghold there. Kind of weird, right? So, as we enter, we get a cutscene.
I have watched as you blundered your way to this place. At one time, I even considered approaching you with an offer to lead my Imperial Guard. But it is plain that you are not worthy of such a position. Be not fooled by what you would call success in your journey across the Empire, for you have never faced a being as powerful as I. Your death shall be slow and torturous, a suffering that shall span the millennium. Come, I await you in the dungeons below.
And the text for his speech is a different color. He actually voices it really well. You'll notice he flowed from one page to the next super well. So here I make a mistake. I notice I don't have a mark of light, so I save in order to cut the video and then go buy one. But I forgot one really important detail. We are locked inside now, and that means I have no light at that. Looks like we've got some spelunking to do in the final dungeon. Well, this is it, the final dungeon. Interesting layout. It's about medium length, I would say. Completely insane as far as the fighting's concerned. So, as we step inside, it says, Jagarthan bids thee welcome, foolish child. And I think you're supposed to be moving a little bit faster, so as soon as that message comes up, all these wraiths start attacking you, sending the fireballs flying your way. I deal with them with a potion of fire resist, and we hit the main hall here. And actually, I get a little bit scared because if they threw too much fire at me in this dungeon, I'd never stocked up on more fire resist potions. I think we have like 11, but overall we should be okay. So let's talk about level 1 here. It's really fun, actually. If you remember several episodes ago, I did show you what it was like breaking into a regular palace. Well, same kind of layout here. We get guards to fight, except these dudes are way stronger than normal guards we'd experience. I think in the previous quest text that was bugged, Rhea essentially was telling us to go easy on these guys. Yeah, I'm still just slaughtering them. I don't think there is a way to go easy on them. They're not too bad, but yes, are stronger than regular palace guards. And then you kind of just get to enjoy the palace tile set. You get to explore it like you would many others, although this one's obviously static and not randomly generated. There's a bunk area, and there's a big open main hall with a throne that you can sit on. There's even these nice little pools here, and sweet statues. You know, as cool as it would be to have the Mark of Light in here and really illuminate this room, see those statues, I kind of like the sense of being in a nice dark dungeon here at the end of all things as well. Reminds us obviously of the sewers, which do not feature here. Now, I like a good bookend. And so if there had been a section of this final dungeon that had us returning to the sewers, but with way more dangerous creatures, I think I would have been over the moon. I really, really like that. You might say it's a bit tropey, a bit cliche. A lot of games obviously go with stuff like that, but I think it's so cool. Especially in RPGs where you've traveled so far, unlocked so many new mechanics and strengths and capabilities, and then you kind of combine the new with the old. But we're in the same general region of the world, but not actually in the same place itself. So anyway, here's the throne. Now here's the main idea of this dungeon and why it's kind of only a medium length dungeon instead of anything really long. And I'll just say I think that's a good move as well. It's that for every floor, there are multiple ways down. So there are actually something like 4 exits to this level. They all take you to level 2, and the difference between them is where you pop out in level 2. That's obviously not new, but they do this 4 floors deep, which is new. Other situations where we've seen stuff like that, it's not been quite the same. So Bethesda could have been really punishing about that concept with this, in such that maybe you choose one stairway up here. And look at this, by the way, most of the map is already illuminated for me, which is really interesting. They could have designed this layout so that if I pick the wrong doorway or stairway down up here, I only realize it's the wrong one way later, so I only have like a 1 in 4 chance of making it. So there was the Imperial Guard's sleeping quarters. Basically, this is a narrow little corridor with beds on the left and the right as we go through. But Bethesda were not that punishing about it. It's pretty free and easy most of the time, with the exception of one stairway. You can kind of go whatever stairway you end up stumbling on first, which is what I did here, which is really not what I expected. There you go, there's the stairway down straight away. I mean, how fast was this? That's not what I would have expected for a final dungeon. You'd think they'd be a little bit more punishing about it, but no. And so yeah, I found the stairway down so quick I even decided to sort of explore back. There's just this long narrow corridor that I could have ran down, but I ended up cutting through one of the bunk rooms, and it was pretty quick too. So yeah, this is my choice down. Maybe in your own file, you guys are going a different way. And so we hit the second floor. Again, the tile set changes a little bit here, but I think we've seen this in the other random palaces around the world. Main difference here is we're not fighting regular guards. We're actually up to vampires already. They are really crazy with the high-end mobs for this one. Lots of vampires, not in optional crypts or whatever. They'll be in your face constantly. I think that they should have increased the chance that these vampires have to disease you, so that I'd have more reason to use kind of anti-disease potions and stuff. But that's really not much of a risk. Get some really creepy cool sound effects in this dungeon as well, including a woman screaming. Listen out carefully later on, because I'll probably be blabbing about something in the commentary when it happens. But a really shrill woman scream, and some of these weird sound effects that we've had as we've gone through happen quite regularly here. So yeah, we're kind of aiming somewhere southeast. So I just marked that vaguely on my map. I started doing that in recent videos just so that you guys would have a better sense of where I'm going, because I appreciate watching these videos. I don't know, they kind of just feel like I'm running blindly from wall to wall to wall and there's not much else happening, right? But yeah, we're sort of going southeast-ish, and even I'm not entirely sure. But that's just because the reason I want to go that way is because that is just the closest stairway down. I don't know whether it's going to trap me or what, and we'll find the answer to that in a moment. So yeah, liches as well, vampires and liches. Now this time I have the potion that is fortifying my strength attributes, and if you watch closely later, I'm going to go into my inventory and you'll see that means I'm actually at +9 to damage when I do successfully swing. And it seems to me that the liches are a bit easier to kill at the moment than they were last time we were fighting them. I haven't actually leveled up since then. We're level 18, and I'm going to fight a lot of liches here, a lot of iron golems as well. I don't know whether it all just comes down to that potion. If it does, I have to say I regret going so long through Arena without buying those from the Mages Guild. I mean, they were within my budget for a long while. Just another... Oh, and so here, by the way, that vampire really annihilates me, so I have to just pause at the last possible moment. I managed to get my health back, as you can see here. And here, I die. And the reason is because I get sandwiched between two vampires. I should have actually decided to try and fight them. By the way, keep track of how many potions of heal true I have here. We started with 75, and I want you guys to guess how many you think I've drank sometime around the 4th floor. So yeah, I'm going to cut now because I also made the crucial mistake of not saving. So we're back up to the beginning of floor 1. Now I have a better sense of where I'm going, so I can return pretty fast. So back to the start of floor 2 here, the original vampire. Figure we can watch it again. So as for the interior, whether any of this is recognizable in subsequent games, the answer really, unfortunately, is it's not. In the later games, when you do get to go to the palace, it will be so much more fleshed out and different. Hell, even just the existence of like a regular mages guild in the Imperial City won't be carried forward to other games. If anything, it will be the Arcane University that's here, and the whole layout will be different. So really just enjoy this as, you know, the primordial ooze that's the beginning of the game. So check that out. This time, on the floor 2, I just made 2 lefts, and I beat the whole floor. And I was so amazed at this, I had to go back up and look at the map for you all. Look at this. The green dot is where I started. I just went left twice, and I'm downstairs again. Completely by chance. And that's how quickly I get to floor 3. The thing is, if this now makes me spawn in a weird place in floor 3, maybe it's not the fastest route overall. And in fact, that seems so easy to me. I had to believe that the devs were trying to trick me somehow with this route through the dungeon. But then again, Arena has been pretty fast and loose with dungeon design, right, and has not been scared to be wasteful and weird with so much of its ideas. Also, the end of the game can sometimes be a quality bump in some products. It can also be a big decline in some products because of crunch. And, you know, the project wasn't managed properly, so you never know. Anyway, this floor is actually probably my favorite dungeon floor that we've done for a long while, just because it's got basically a unique tile set, really, in that we're in a lost library, and the walls are starting to look a bit crusty and old. Really gives the sense that we're in some really ancient, old, dilapidated, dusty environment that almost no one ever comes to anymore. And the idea of a lost library and all that knowledge has always been such a captivating and compelling notion to me. I especially like the idea that somewhere on this floor, one of these library shelves would perhaps be a fake door, and you click it and it would open up. And they have an opportunity to do that, but they mess it up, and they don't. They just have it be one of the like rocky walls, which kind of sucks. Anyway, yeah, it's just so dark and creepy in here, and there's so many deadly things. It's unreal, these fire demons jumping out at us amongst bookshelves. I wonder whether some random dynamic quests can take us to places like this. There are dynamic quests that can take you to towers in the wilderness, which is kind of the same shtick as the tower we climbed for the main story. You know, you're going up instead of down. And maybe in those towers you can find some library shelves, but nowhere in the main story do we find a layout like this that I can remember. Is my memory that bad that we have actually seen that? So, yeah, as for navigating this area, there's even like a cool sense of maybe being able to do some jumping puzzly stuff, you know, which would have been equally cool. If you guys remember, actually, one of the first places we ever went back in Stonekeep, there was some design that had you doing some jumping around, and you could skip into one of the areas a bit quicker by jumping. It feels like Bethesda forgot that was possible or didn't want players to have to deal with that. Remember as well that the default bind for jumping forwards is like a horrendous bind, and I recommended at the start of the series, I still do, if you guys are going to play this in the year 2020 or whenever, that you should remap that. Like my spacebar is actually like Control J while I'm playing this game, because the default bind was ridiculous. So maybe they decided that that wasn't going to be a big part of the core experience because it was so clunky jumping around. Maybe old systems struggled with it. But again, I mean, I get through pretty cleanly. The only tricky thing is this wall here, which, again, I think should have been a bookshelf. It wasn't a bookshelf. Or was it easy? So now we're on the final floor, okay? We are on Palace Floor 4. And we've managed to find our way down, but look at how cool this is. And that's why, by the way, a J got printed in my save thing there. We hear that there's a lich nearby. I walk forwards, I'm clicking. Turns out it's a complete dead end, guys. Seriously, this entire entrance to the final floor is worth nothing. There are only 2 ways down to the very depths. This is one of the 2. And if you found yourself in this one, then you you're stuffed. You can't go anywhere. I mean, with Passable, yes, you can. But also, apparently, the liches that are in the bottom floor can attack you through the walls. Which means that, yeah, I get another game over. So, yeah, this one's a trick. Passable users would probably like to go there. Regular players, that one is not the correct way down. The correct way down is actually even further south. So, we have to spend a little bit more time in the library than I had at first thought, which actually I was happy with, because to be honest, if you can imagine, I actually the bottom floor for this dungeon is kind of a quite precise experience. There's actually a boss fight, for example. Ooh, very exciting. We'll talk about that in a second. So if I had already got there, I mean, this would have been one of the shorter dungeons in the game, really. I mean, how long have we been in here? Maybe 15 minutes tops, and we're already down at the very bottom. That would have been nuts. So I'm actually happy to see this. Some homunculus, go with the resist shock. Resist shock, at this point, by the way, I'm pretty sure is good against liches too. It feels like resist cold is really important right at the start of the game, particularly on your first trip to Skyrim, which is obviously the second destination out of all 9. So it's good there, but then after that, kind of falls off. And especially late game, it's all fire resist and shock resist as far as the eye can see. Also kind of funny that in this game, there's not like any additional elements. There's no water resist, right? It's just those 3. So, yeah, well, I'm trying to get south, basically. Just south and east as much as I can to see if there's another stairway down there. The corridor I'm in right now, filled with iron golems, I'm really hoping for a level up, and see they almost kill me. But if I continue down there, that would just lead me back up. If I had maybe gone right instead of left at the very beginning of the dungeon, I'm actually in sort of the reverse direction here, so I don't want to keep going east. And the funny thing is, if I travel down there, it will spawn things by this doorway, because the devs are expecting me to have come from the other angle, not to be like backtracking, if you will. So way forward is actually in this pillared room. It's very sneaky. You've got to go behind this pillar here that you might not easily see. And I'm playing it really stupid here. I had low health. For ages I had low health. And I got game over. Of course I did. Stupid. You'd think I would have learned. So back to the pillar room again, and of course we saw a lich was regenerating, which is also a good signifier that a lich is spawning. And you see they're quite sneaky there. The only way forwards, there's no other choices, is behind that pillar, but the second you stand on the pillar, they do an ambush with a guy attacking you from the back. Weird little thing with a lich. Listen to this, 1 second. That sound effect there, that very draconic, wyvern-y sound effect. If you guys have watched some of my other Let's Play series on YouTube, you might recognize that sound effect. That's a sound effect that I actually hear all over the place, not just in games, but in kind of dodgy, cheaply produced fantasy TV as well. And I guess it's a very old sound effect too, because here it is in the early 90s. People who watch some of my other series, if you saw my series on Zurich, you'll actually remember that sound effect plays constantly there because it was attributed to one of the creatures in that game. And I can't fight liches without thinking of that now. It's kind of like the video game Wilhelm's Scream to me. In fact, I'd say there's a whole collection, a whole library of sound effects that are really recognizable, and I see game after game after game. Maybe some of you guys recognize it from other stuff. I swear I've heard that in some of the like bad Spyros and things. It's nearly always on like a dragony creature, but here for this game, it's on the lich. And you know, I've learned something cool playing Arena here with you guys. These liches being the ultimate dangerous thing, it's going to be exciting to go through the later Elder Scrolls games and have a real sense of what liches are in those, how dangerous when they start coming in, because you know, they really are the top dog as ultimate enemy for the franchise so far, and I'm looking forward to kind of tracking that, what Daggerfall will do with them in particular, because I've never played Daggerfall. Alright, so welcome to floor 4, the actual floor 4. So, 2 liches at once, you're going to have to get used to dealing with that. This floor is an epic gauntlet of lich fighting. And as you'll see, I'm actually doing okay. I managed to angle myself just right so that I can cleave both of them. That won't always be a luxury I have. Sometimes I can't even necessarily line of sight them. And so right now my plan is, I don't want to skip anything. I want to actually fight through and again, maybe get a level up because all these things are worth so much levels at this point. No treasure down here or anything like that. And here, again, we try and cleave them both. I actually have a bug here in that I can't move. I don't know why Arena does this a lot of the time. I can't strafe or anything, so you see me like frantically looking left and right. I'm trying to get closer because I want to hit both of them at once, but I just kind of can't until now. I've backed up and now I'm taking extra damage. I'm not sure what it is. It's like the shock damage somehow immobilized me or something. It's just the weird, clunky, buggy movement. But I think I would probably guess that there is anywhere in the region of 20 to 30 liches on this floor. This is not just the last floor, it's the last floor to the last dungeon. So they really go all out, and for Bethesda that just meant spam liches at them. But there you see, I actually managed to kill 2 at once with a homunculus in the background, and then this Medusa almost gets me, but I managed to survive just about. So here's the thing though, I don't know that there's like 20 or 30 of them right now, and I'm starting to wonder about my potions of Heal True. So again, I bought 75 going into this dungeon. 75. How many do you guys think that I've drank so far? Because of course, we really don't want to run out. So the layout of this floor is pretty much the same thing, just in a less detailed way, as the Crypt of Hearts. So remember, the bottom of the Crypt of Hearts, that was the 6th piece of the staff, where we spawn and we've got to like loop all the way around the outside before entering a large central chamber. It's the same thing here. We're looping all the way around. We go all the way north, then all the way east, and then all the way south, and then all the way west, and we're there. Except this time, it's filled with, you know, there's basically no trenches, there's no little side rooms, there's nothing complicated about it. It's just these ugly, gross looking rooms beneath the lost library and so on. And it's just spamming you with liches as you go. Liches which, I'll remind you, can actually detect invisibility. So while in the Crypt of Hearts, I could demonstrate to you guys drinking an invis potion and just floating your way through. In here, that won't necessarily save you. You run out of restoring items and you could be totally screwed. There are 2 different ways to fight these liches. You could stay at range and use range stuff and just let the shock resist help you, or go into melee where I think the shock resist stops helping you. And I noticed that they were getting a little bit, which is what I'm doing obviously because I don't have much range. I noticed they were getting a little bit more tanky here, so I did go for a fortification on strength, and it could refresh. Quite often I'll just drink it to see if maybe I can refresh. I don't know whether that actually takes it away from my inventory or what. You know, if I already had the effect on me. But yeah, there I'm checking my stats to see, and we do have that juicy +9 for our strength. Really kind of nice. I think if I was going to rebuild this character, or, well, first of all, if I was going to play Arena again, I would definitely go a spellcaster. There's a whole side to the game, and creating spells that I think could be really fun. Or at least a range character. I wouldn't do the same playstyle, even if those other playstyles are much harder. But the other thing I'd probably do is bump my willpower up a lot quicker. I think that the willpower would have meant so much in these areas. Sadly, there's not too much more for me to talk about here. I mean, we will see the whole thing. It's going to get a little bit crazy in a second, but as far as fighting liches is concerned, well, you can see the gameplay. It's just spam the sword left and right. I suppose one of the other things I haven't really done too much of with the fighting recently is, you know, doing the chops, the up-down movement, or the diagonal movement, you know, where the hit chance goes down, but the damage goes up, or the hit chance goes up, but the damage goes down. I think that the side to side is just generally the best way to go. So another stone golem, actually a pleasure to see because they'll die quickly. It's kind of out of place. I think he's the only one that we fight here. The only one. The rest of it's just liches and homunculus. There was a random Medusa at one point. I don't know. It's almost like they got it wrong. This floor should be filled with the more general enemies and then accented by the liches. But instead, it's filled with liches and accented by those other enemies. I don't know, maybe Bethesda just thought that they wanted it to be as hard as possible, and I wouldn't be surprised about that. Locking you in here as well is a whole other level of cruel for anyone that hasn't got their save files managed properly, and now they find at this point that they can't beat the dungeon, only to backtrack and find that they're stuck in the palace. That would be pretty nasty. That's pretty much a completely dead run right there, and however many hours you've spent on the game. Imagine you're one of these players that's, you know, typing in the journal and printing out your journal entries and printing out dungeon maps that you're drawing for yourself. It's all been authentically done, and then you get stuck in here at the end. It's a weird hypothetical, but I also think there's got to be someone who genuinely had that experience. Don't forget what I said before, that Arena didn't sell that well when it very first came out. Its popularity went up later. It kind of released at a bit of an awkward time of the year for Christmas, as far as I remember. We'll probably talk about that very soon. But even with a smaller user base, you never know. Right, so here I am checking my potions. I only have 16 left. Okay, I only have 16 left, and I basically have 2 whole wings left to grind through for liches. and I would estimate I've probably drank about 40 of them on this floor already. So I have to make a hard decision here. I make it in a kind of a snap way. But I save the game, and what I've just... Well, and then I get myself killed. I load the game, and I decide I'm not going to be able to make it with all these potions. So we try to run. So here's how it looks running through the dungeon, and all's well. I get to this door, it's fine. I don't know where the exit's exactly going to be, but I know it's somewhere around this wall. And now I find this pillar. So let's pause right here 1 second. Obviously I'm being attacked by a lich, so I'm panicked at the moment. And the lich may have even blocked me into this cubby hole. So I have that in mind. Now the way that this is designed is you're meant to go all the way around until you find a door, you open the door. And I don't imagine in a million years, and I've never read about anything like this, of a way to skip going through that door. But in my panic, I press space. And as you'll see, we fly right over the wall into the central chamber, which, yes, guess what, is a lava-filled chamber. And I kind of skip the last little section of the corridor. But I'm freaking out because there's obviously a lich attacking me. I drink fire resist so that the lava won't kill me. I'm on a time limit. There's another lich on an island. I can't imagine why any player, by the way, would ever come out to see that lich on that island there. Just like so much of Arena, there's all these dungeon areas that you really... I can't imagine why a player would be there or the devs populated. There's more liches on even more islands. I mean, it's just truly absurd. And then I remember, of course, I can levitate. Like, why am I swimming instead of flying? So... I hit up levitate, and before going into the center of the room, which is where we should be, I did want to just... This is the door. This is where I was meant to be. And there's actually a cool little bit of flavor text, which you guys know me. I want you to see it all. I decided to trigger. Before you stands a great steel door. Its surface is hot as if behind it lies a great fire. The smell of sulfur and brimstone hangs in the still dead air. Wow, we're still hearing about sulfur. Now that's the last bit of ambient text really in the game. And it leads you into this giant rectangular room of lava. I think this would be quite impressive if Dagoth hadn't already done this. And several dungeons had actually just done a big lava-y floor below. Here you do have to jump. If you don't, you're going to fall in the lava. And here you have to swim or fly. You have to. So make sure you've got one of those two because otherwise you're screwed. And our job is to get into the center of the room where waits, yeah, this is it, guys, a boss fight. This is Jagar Tharn. Now, by clicking him, it says he's a battle mage, not Jagar Tharn, so I guess that's kind of reused. But he is Jagar. You'll see he's got, like, the green emerald on the tip of his staff, which is not the thing that we're looking for. But, yeah, I guess this is his in-game representation. Now, as far as I can see, the guy is invincible, like, super invincible. I have, since playing... read that supposedly you can kind of kill him, like not for good. You can, like, I think the word used was incapacitate, and that he actually gives you experience, good amounts of experience. But like, why you would want that when you're basically beating the game, I don't know. I mean, we'll see in a moment that the game does go on. But, yeah, I try and fight him for a very long time. As you know, I only have 16 potions of Heal True. So I'm just going to fight him until I've almost ran out of them. And if I can't kill him at that point, then whatever. We'll have to, like, move on. But I think the idea is he's supposed to be harassing us at this very last moment of the game. And it's nice to see Bethesda did get something of a unique battle in here. Would have been pretty cool if this environment had, this last little boss room had some liches in there as well, I suppose. But yeah, so go through the steel door across the lake. I like the idea that that steel door is hot, by the way, because in terms of real life fire safety, you should do that. You're supposed to feel the handle, see if it's hot, and if it is, you don't go through because there's a fire on the other side. Kind of reminded me of that in a weird way. The boss chamber itself has 4 entrances, one north, one south, one east, one west. All of them you've got to fly or swim through the lava to get through, just as you've seen here with this trench. And where we're actually standing right now is a small room that also has within it 4 tiny locked rooms. 2 of them are filled with treasure. One of them has a magical lock on it that you can't get through without the skeleton key. And one of them has a key, a mithril key, to get through the magical lock, right? So you'll see what I mean here. Also, Jagar Tharn can poison us, apparently. Look at that. Incredible. If you let him use his magic. So here, for example, this lock has nothing to fear from us. We can swing through the door and not even feel bad about losing durability on our ebony weapon because, first of all, it's very unlikely to break, but also because this is the end of all things. So whatever. And I have 2 backup weapons still, which we've seen me use. The Dai Katana and the Longsword, I think. I think I'm on the ebony katana right now. But yeah, so you can grab some loot piles. they're rubbish, as always. I was really hoping to see a mark in there, and then I was really hoping to activate the mark, and it turns out that it's a light spell. Or we activate the mark, it turns out it's some badass magic that can one-shot Jaeger. Anyway, so that door there was just more treasure. But this one, if you see, on a pedestal on the left, has got a little key. Just like the start of the game, guys. Look at that. Oh, except instead of it being a ruby key to get out of prison, it's a mithril key. Use the mithril key. And here it is, the last object. This is what we're looking for. Now, when we click this, it is the end of the game. All we have to do is to touch the completed staff, and everything will be complete. So there you have it. And we get to enjoy the final cutscene, except, wait, this is Elder Scrolls Arena, one of the buggiest franchises in the world. Guess what? Sometimes there's a bug, which means that when you complete the game, guess what? Screw you, you don't complete the game. It hangs on a black screen. Yeah, I'm not joking. I waited here so long, guys. I waited here, just like drumming my fingers. Please play the cutscene. Please play the cutscene. And it just didn't. So I had to do it all again. I really did. So I think I'd saved while I was in the chamber. I called it Jaeger, so it wasn't too bad. But yes, be aware, before you pick up the last item, make sure you save. This bug can happen. It happened to me. It can happen to you. As for the cutscene itself, it's actually really cool. Very well made. You know, this game has basically no cutscenes, but it's got one every time you boot the game, and then it's got this one at the end, which genuinely feels pretty rewarding to me, even if there's no voice acting, because I guess when they released the CD version, they forgot to do it. Anyway, sit back, enjoy. We did it, guys! Here's how the end of the game looks. You must not! The jewel holds my life! Oh. The real Emperor returns from his dimension. Now, they never voice acted this guy either. Thou art truly a child of the Empire. I thank thee for thy assistance. That's my best attempt at Patrick Stewart. I have a particular idea as to the question of your service in mind. From this day forth, thou art named the Eternal Champion. From thy hand shall be dealt the needs of the Empire. I, Uriel Septim, true Emperor of Tamriel, do decree and thus make law. Arise, my champion, and take thy rightful place at my side. So yeah, he looks very different to how he will in subsequent games. And then we get this last shot here. You have proven yourself a worthy champion of the Empire, and such service shall not easily be forgotten. Hang not your sword above the mantle, nor place your spellbook upon the shelves. Many such adventures still await your hand. This was but one chapter in the story of the Elder Scrolls. Now, you'll notice that background is basically the same kind of area as where we did the character creation questionnaire and stuff at the very beginning. So they do kind of bookend it with that. And there you have it. Suddenly, we find ourselves back in the Imperial City. So, they do a nice little thing with this RPG where once you beat it, it doesn't throw any credits at you at all, actually. You just get to continue the story because, as I will remind you guys, I said it at the very beginning, players don't play this game this way anymore. We don't consume these products in the way that Bethesda thought we would. But this really was just first and foremost a big sandbox game, where they didn't really think that people would be shackled or obsessed with the main quest, but that just the experience of the dynamic stuff would be enough for you. And it turns out, you know, they fell short of those goals, I think, and how predictable things were and how routine and how boring some of those dynamic quests were. But with that in mind, it's very obvious why, here at the end of the game, they let you keep playing. By the way, yeah, now we have 9 staff pieces. Having beaten the game, the last object we collect counts as a staff piece. And so you get the 9th. There's some interesting weird little bugs. There's a strange cutscene you could get at the end where Jaeger speaks to you with Rhea's voice, or is it Rhea speaks to you with Jaeger's voice? Not sure. You can go back to the palace. It says, as you approach the palace gates, a guard respectfully bows and informs you that the catastrophic forces unleashed during the final conflict with the Imperial Battle Mage, the palace is currently under reconstruction. Perhaps he suggests you could return once the repairs are complete. ... So you do get a little bit of extra dialogue. I bet a lot of players missed that. You know, people just log out straight away as soon as they're done. But you do get this extra bit of information as to why you can't return to that dungeon. Funnily enough, all the other dungeons you can return to but there wouldn't be too much reason for it. Now your character would really just be doing all of those dynamic, randomly generated quests and having fun with those. So that's not it for this series. I will be seeing you guys for one more video. Please do join me. There's that beautiful short story which I had read a portion of to you guys early on in the series about us in the prison. I've got a cool little anecdote about an alternate ending, a different ending on the floppy disk version compared to the CD version, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff about the development of the game that I find fascinating and just didn't really have a great way to layer into the adventure here. So join me for that, one more bonus video. But as far as the main game is concerned, we're pretty much complete here. I mean, you'll notice there in the ending sequence, they hint multiple times that the story goes on. Whether that is specifically just the sandbox side of the game that they want you to go to, you know, those are other chapters of the Elder Scrolls, or they always knew they wanted to make a long franchise out of it, maybe we'll be able to dig that information up from some dev comments. So that will be next time. This is it for Tarlin, though, I think. Maybe tomorrow we'll have him doing some artifact quests or some dynamic stuff in the background as we chat about these cool things. But thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. There you go. That's basically the main story for Elder Scrolls Arena. It's been a blast on my end, and I hope to see you for one more tomorrow. Until then, guys, take it easy, just like Tarlin now can.